The closet door slammed open with a force that shook the room, and my breath froze in my chest. My eyes locked onto the dark, empty doorway, and I waited, heart pounding. But nothing happened. Nothing was there. I didn't sleep that night, or for many nights after. The house began to change. At first it was subtle, the faint feeling of being watched, a strange stillness in the air. But soon, it was undeniable. The wallpaper seemed to shift as I walked down the hall, the walls almost breathing. Then the whispers began. At night, soft voices called my name, faint but sharp, impossible to ignore. Every time I told my dad, "Russ," he waved it off. "The house is old," he'd say. "It's just settling." But I knew better. One night as I lay awake, I heard scratching beneath the floorboards. It was faint at first, but grew louder, like claws scraping closer. My body froze as the sound surrounded me. I clutched my blanket and shut my eyes, praying it would stop. Then I heard it. "Help me." It wasn't my dad's voice. It wasn't anyone I knew. It was broken, desperate and cold, cutting straight into my bones. I wanted to scream, to move, but I couldn't. A sudden crash in the hallway shattered the silence, and my body jolted into action. Slowly, I slid out of bed, my bare feet meeting the icy floor. The air felt heavy, almost suffocating. The hallway was darker than usual, the shadows long and twisted. That's when I saw it. The basement door was wide open. It had always been locked before. Now it gaped like a black hole, and a wave of rot and sickly sweetness wafted out. My legs moved on their own, pulling me toward the open stairwell. I stopped at the edge, gripping the railing tightly. The darkness below seemed endless. Then, in the corner of my eye, I saw movement. A figure stood in the shadows, hunched and twitching. My breath caught. Slowly, it stepped closer. Its face was wrong. The skin stretched unnaturally tight, its empty black eyes staring right at me. It smiled, revealing jagged, crooked teeth, and my stomach churned. Behind me, something banged loudly, and I spun around, heart hammering. But there was nothing there. When I turned back to the basement, the figure was gone. Instead, a single chair sat at the bottom of the stairs, facing me. It hadn't been there before. The whispers returned, louder this time, swirling around me like a storm. Then I felt it, cold, bony fingers wrapping around my ankle. I screamed, kicking and thrashing, but the grip didn't loosen. Something invisible was pulling me toward the basement, dragging me inch by inch. My nails scraped the floor as I fought back, but it was no use. Just as I was about to be pulled into the darkness, the basement door slammed shut. I was left lying on the floor, shaking and gasping for air. Somehow I made it back to my bed that night, though I didn't remember how. I never told my dad. He wouldn't have believed me. He was always too busy, too distracted. But the house wasn't done with me. The whispers became screams. The furniture began to shift on its own. Doors opened to rooms that didn't exist. One day I stumbled into a room filled with photographs. Each picture showed a face twisted in terror, their eyes wide and pleading. The room grew colder the longer I stayed. I slammed the door shut, but when I opened it again, the room was gone. One night, I woke to the sound of dragging. Something heavy scraped across the floor. In the corner of my room, a shadow loomed, its shape impossible to define. Slowly it moved toward me, its long, claw-like fingers reaching for the edge of my bed. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. Then, crash! The door to my room burst open and my dad stood there, his face pale and unreadable. "Get up," he said flatly. "It's time." I didn't understand what he meant, but I knew one thing. I couldn't stay. McCamey Manor wasn't just a house. It was alive, feeding on fear. No matter where I went, I knew it wouldn't let me go. The whispers, the shadows, the thing in the basement, they'd follow me forever.